I'm grateful. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Well, here, that's what I mean, you see. But also I'm glad to see my friend there, and there's one there too. Are you Aslan? Mother of God, help me. Because when I was extradited from my parish precinct in 2012, well, then I staggered down the street and got into somehow or another mysterious, providential, thank you, serendipitous, into a shop front, for God's sake, after 40 years in the parish precinct, which means I was suffering from post-parish precinct deficit disorder. Because I like to have, you know what I mean, you need place, Jim, isn't it? We need place. Huh? The brothers know that. Place. To have a home is a luxury. To have a place is essential. So I staggered down there and funnily enough, I got a disciple from your joint, one of your early model disciples. He said he was a painter, and I said, can I do anything to help you to settle in? And I said, yeah, well, paint that bloody wall in the back with Narnia, the wardrobe, because I was feeling that way, that reality stinks. I think I'll have a bit of virtual reality. And maybe I can imagine going through the door of the wardrobe into a more exciting place. And lo and behold, he painted the lion, who was in the myth, isn't it? Aslan, see? A nice lion. So that, isn't it? So, I mean, it's interesting to me, speaking in tongues, which I have to because I'm a bit crazy. Speaking in tongues, I was thinking, talking to you, sir, we share an interest in Teilhard de Chardin, yeah, who lives, taught us about virtual reality and about allegedly what is before God, the Logos, isn't it? The Word, which you get from John's Gospel that says, Harrison, make a note, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. You see what I mean? So this never-ending story thing has got me through 82 years and got me through 40 years in the war zone, which South Melbourne was from the time I got there, not because I got there, but because of the bloody drugs. And also our comrades, the developers, who pulled all the factories down so they could build their lovely early model apartments, which meant that the locals, who are now being flogged by you-know-who for being leaners and not lifters, all their factories went so they couldn't go anywhere to work. And that was, that's not fair. But anyway, I was there and I grew up with the not fair. And the generation that was destroyed by drugs, they died when they were 19. I think we lost 40 in the 80s. Locals. Children of migrant families. The drug traffickers had I call it scar wars in those times because it was rugged, and I think we haven't had time even to grieve, you see, because we knew them all. So those things drove me on to what? I don't know. That's what I'm here today for, because I was hoping today you were going to announce the discovery of a vaccine. You know what I mean? Because you call it Sacred Australia is the vaccine, I think, isn't it? And the virus is Scared Australia. Huh? Little bit, that's a bit cheap, isn't it? But I was brought up as a public speaker on the piles of rocks at the Yarra Bank. So you had to talk and entertain before you got to the point. So I was trying to work out if you only got a split second down the road at Brighton, what would you say? I said, well, I'm going to try and contrast and compare Sacred Australia with Scared Australia, because it's in the best interest of the hidden hand, whatever that is, to frighten the tripe out of everybody all the time, you see. So you're going to beat ISIS in Syria. Guess what, folks? They're not satisfied. The hidden hand now says, guess what? You've beaten them and they're all coming home. And they're going to chase you all around the streets of Brighton. All the comrades. So be scared. Well, someone's going to have to do something, otherwise we're going to end up in a total global nervous breakdown or spiritual breakdown. So I'm glad, I think we're onto the virus, you're onto it, you see, but it means there's only one thing necessary for the triumph of good, and that is that good people do something, you see. Or as the founder of my firm said, I was hungry, naked and in prison, and you formed a subcommittee. Did he say? He didn't say that at all. Stacey, you made that up in your book. I'm hungry now. I'm making it up, but you made it up. I was hungry and you formed a subcommittee, you know. I was naked and in prison and you had a walkathon. So because we talk ourselves into thinking, we become collectivists and not activists, you see. And that's why I'm glad the business people are here today, because that's what we're missing out on, the partnership. You see, people who do good, do well, but discover that you can do well and do good, because the fear is amongst the millennials that you can't do both, that you've got to do well, and they've settled for that. But I'm saying that now is the time for the vaccine, and the vaccine. Guess what, folks? There's a new discovery too in our beloved Australia, looking for spirituality, and that is the garage sale is now sacred. It's in the paper this morning. Because what? Where they've discovered that the garage sale creates, connectivity. Connectivity. The communion of saints or something. Isn't it? We're all in this together. We will now sing one verse of, we're all in this together. Who was that who sang that song? But it's true. So, I mean, I'm here very grateful, very excited I am, because, you know, since I was extradited, I've imagined everything, you know, created virtual reality for myself. So I've got a parish without borders. You see what I mean? And I can say somebody's, what are you doing up here? Parish without borders, mate. Or I've got another one now, an algorithm. www. The World Wide Web of wisdom, worship and work. That'll get me through, won't it? See? So, I mean, all of those little ingredients that we're mixing together are things typically Australian. As you said, you know, the Aussies are, of course we're uncertain, because we don't know where the bloody hell we are. See? Neither does anybody else. You see, we're strange. I mean, we're hybrids, aren't we? Look at the wildlife. A bloody koala bear, for God's sake. You can't call it a bear. It should be rampaging around the place, ripping and tearing and getting into industrial bins. If it was a dinkum bear, koala bear. A bloody platypus, for God's sake. It can't make up its mind whether it's a duck or a... You know what I mean? A kangaroo. It's outrageously designed. You know, but strangely enough, perfectly designed, isn't it, for the environment in which... And we're in there too, and we should be one that I think we're onto something, you're onto something, he's onto something, because in fact, if Mungo Man can be the beginning of a what do you call it, what we call in our business a second Pentecost, where you've got an extraordinary, what do you call it, downpouring of the Spirit. No name, no address, the Spirit. Available to everybody. You see what I mean? And that's what we're on to here today. So I'm very excited. I found a thing after we lost the 40 in the 80s. I thought, oh, bum. Bloody drug traffickers are winning because they got money. I can't compete with that. Can we have a boxing gym? Yes, one moment, please. I'll try to beg somebody for a few quid. You know, Bob the beggar I became, and because I had no connections as a child, because various reasons I've got no social connections, well, then you didn't know anybody who you could ask for money, you see? So you had to turn into a bloody clown and perform. And then somebody give you a few quid because you put on a good show at the corporate dinner. You know what I mean? So you sell yourself, which is what the kids were already doing in St Kilda. What are you down here for, prostituting yourself? He said, well, we've got to pay the rent. Perfectly reasonable explanation of an unreasonable situation. And it's the same with those of us who are trying to get something done at the grassroots level, which is where Aussies should excel. We designed the bloody Hills Hoist, didn't we? We invented what else did we invent? All of that we invented. There's no reason, and you've got apps, you told me, you've designed apps, you blokes over there, to make life easier for who? The rich. Well, they can't find their way to the lavatory without an app. You know what I mean? Where am I? No, that's the kitchen, darling. Oh, one moment. You know what I mean? God love them. I'm only being facetious. But I mean, if we could make life... it's strange, you see, I think we've got a hidden fear too, you see, that the convicts are in fact more talented than we are. You see? I think that's the Aussie fear. That's why we had Eureka, when they found out that in fact all you wanted was a square foot or something to dig a hole in and get gold, whereas the others, the squatters, had already pinched theirs. We were going to dig for it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the same with I'm amazed at housing ministry people. I said to a bloke, we were feeding people last night, and I said, for some reason or another, I've got this thing that they're more talented than the rest of us. And they're our hidden resource, the public housing people, you see. And I said to him, you wouldn't have a poem, would you? What the hell am I asking him that for? And he said, oh, I have. And he recited a poem he'd written last week. You know? So, I mean, that's another example of this mysterious spirituality, you know, that is lurking all over the place. You know, and I thought to myself too, the poor Muzzies, are the Muslims here? We rename Muslims, you see, because they're our Muslims, isn't it? We got your back, isn't it? There is no God but good, and we're the messenger. I thought that would be acceptable. Thank you for having me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope the bride is not frozen to death. God's frozen people. You know what I mean? At Sylvan. And I'm sorry to take up so much time, and grateful for the opportunity. And anybody who wants to be, anybody who needs us, know where we are.